will quickly again thank my social partners, NECA, NLC, and TUC for supporting us in the achievement of these laudable goals by making themselves available for social dialogue and for us to make ourselves available for social dialogue. I want to thank specially the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, for the unrelenting support that he has given to my ministry to see it grow from almost moribund stage it was before 2010 when he became acting president to this enviable position we have achieved within a relative period of time. I want you again, for me to reciprocate this good gesture, I want you to continue not only to support me as the minister in the Ministry of Labor and Productivity to reciprocate this good gesture Mr. President has extended to us, but in the overall interest of the country to support the transformation agenda of Mr. President, which is all-encompassing and not limited to Ministry of Labor, though we are central to the attainment and the achievement of that transformation agenda. Ladies and gentlemen, I've been prompted that my time is up. I'm saying it. Thank you and God bless.
Okay, we want to thank the Honorable Minister of Labor for his achievements in the labor sector. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we are now going into the question and answer session, and the modus operandi is this way. If you do have any question for any of the honorable ministers, you raise up your hands, tell us your name, the organization you're coming from, and thereafter you ask your questions. We will not accept the use of foul language in course of your questioning. So the floor is now open. But then we have questions that we have received from the various social media networks, and we will start with those questions. This question is going to the Honorable Minister of Niger Delta Affairs. He said, what is the quantum of federal government's investment in infrastructural development in the region under your ministry in the last 3 years? And how much is required to complete all ongoing projects between now and 2015? This question is coming from one Mr. Chris Ochai, Vanguard Newspapers. Then on the East-West Road, Mr. Ima from Port Harcourt is asking the Honorable Minister of Niger Delta Affairs for him to say something about the Okoso Bridge, Pateni Bridge, that what is the level of completion? Again, another question from one Godfrey Godsent. He said he is from Niger Delta. He wants to know that who are the members of the Niger Delta Council and who constituted them. Then another question, but this time around for the Honorable Minister of State, Niger Delta Affairs. And this one is coming from one best man from Bayelsa. He said, Honorable Minister of State, Niger Delta Affairs, I heard you are in charge of youth, education, empowerment, and agriculture. How much have you been able to do in that sector, in this ministry? Please explain, sir. Then for the Minister of Labor, this one is coming from one John Appa from Lagos. He said, what are you doing towards checking casualization of workers in Nigeria? And from Tony Njoku from Enugu, he is saying, Honorable Minister of Labor, what would you say is the progress made by community service, women and youth empowerment project of subsidy reinvestment and empowerment program, SURE-P? What will you say is the reception the host communities gave to officials of government when they come calling? Another one coming from a labor activist from Kano, he said his name is Suleiman. He wants to know the rate of unemployment in this country. Then this one said, Honorable Minister, you've been doing very well in dispute resolution. Have you heard about teachers embarking on strikes in various states of the Federation, and that students or our family, our kids are not going to school? What are you doing with your counterpart in the Ministry of Education to ensure that these matters are resolved? So, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, these are the questions from my own part. I will call my colleague to read out the questions he has. Yahya Umar.
Thank you, Peter. Straight to the questions. This one is by SMS from a concerned civil servant. As a civil servant, I would like to know what the federal government is doing concerning accommodation or housing for the low-income earners, please. Is the Minister of Labor liaising with the Minister of Housing regarding this? From Facebook, Azilo Oyoleme Ogunye writes, the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs has remained almost invisible. That's invisible in Isoko land. My question is that, is Isoko Nation not part of the Niger Delta? This one is also by SMS from Efosa Obiasogi. Una well done for una good work. Oga Minister of Information, waiting they happen to Edo State SURE-P. We they work, but them no they pay. I beg, Oga, federal government never start payment. Thank you, sir. Efosa Obiasogi. And then the second question, I want to thank Labara Maku for the information he has been given to us. Actually, this government of Jonathan is working hard to develop this country. But our problem is that all the works are seen, but some of them are written on papers. Please, sir, we want you to get these people working. This one is another one by SMS. Hello, good to be here. From Elvis Nosa from Benin. Hello, good to be here. Please, why was the skill center in Edo closed? And what is the face of the youth in Edo State that we're hoping on learning from that center? Elvis Nosa from Benin. My name is Donatus Okoro Kingsley from Imo State. Please, federal government, the Minister of Niger Delta Affairs and Labor should please help to train us in our various disciplines, particularly those of us from mechanical engineering. I graduated since 2010 with 2.1, but no job due to no field experience, skill, or the necessary connections. From Gabriel Princeville in Port Harcourt via email. Honorable Minister of Niger Delta, please tell us about the possibility of purifying the polluted rivers in the Niger Delta in order to revive fish farming activities to an all-time high. From Diane Kingsley in Gabon via Twitter, with so much money voted for the fixing of the Niger Delta, what is being done in order to enable those trained from the funds earmarked for skills acquisition to become employers of labor themselves? From Joshua Briggs in Soweto, South Africa via Facebook, greetings to Elder Orubebe. We just want to report to you, sir, that here in South Africa, brothers and sisters would like to return home. We want to come back in order to transform our creeks to sites of tourist attraction. I studied urban and regional planning, but here in Soweto, I am a ball boy at the golf club. What is your plan for your boys in the diaspora? From Zach Fatherson in New Delhi, India, via email. We need our Honorable Minister of Niger Delta to tell the world the effort his office is making in arresting corrupt tendencies by the indigents entrusted with this all-important rebuilding effort. From Namdi Omerwe in Ashanti, Ghana, via email. Honorable Minister Chief Emeka Wogo, I'm in Ghana because virtually all employers of labor in Nigeria insist on certain number of vacancies exist. How can one provide satisfactory answers to such demands without resorting to lies? We pray that you use your good offices to reverse this trend so that fresh graduates like us, determined to be self-reliant, will have their zeal rekindled. And I'm almost there. From Magdalene Yerima in Koi, Southern Kaduna, via email. Honorable Minister of Labor and Productivity, you said that the national policy on productivity, as you mentioned earlier, has received Mr. President's endorsement. How can Nigerians tap the juice in this policy? We Nigerians demand for accountability at all times. Finally, Comrade Labaran Aluta Continua, Victoria Asata. And that will be that for now. Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Okay. This is Engineer Adidiji Dohati, a PDP governorship aspirant, from Lagos State. I applaud your ministry, that's talking about Ministry of Information, on providing this first of its kind interactive platform, and recommend that this kind of town hall progress report is done by ministers on a quarterly basis. It should also be emphasized that the PDP's manifesto and Mr. President's vision on transformation is what is being executed. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the party. This one says, please, I would like to ask who is in charge of East-West Road in Niger Delta. Is it NDDC or the Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs? The federal government, through the Ministry of Works, should please listen that the road needs urgent attention. And I think this one should be the last one. I am Prince Will Chukwuka Ogbolu from Okpayolochi in Delta State. I want to commend your ministry, Niger Delta Affairs, for the work done so far. But I also want to draw your attention to the Okpai community in Ndokwa East local government area, which is the highest oil producing community in Delta North Senatorial District, having various oil companies in it. But as I speak, the access road to Okpai is in the worst condition you can think of. There is no community, there is no good water,
that there is no good water supply as the rivers are suffering from oil spillage. This community also has the first independent power plant in Africa, supplying Aso Rock in Abuja and unbelievably some other parts of the country. Thank you very much.
Okay, Yahya Umar, thank you for those questions. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the floor is now open. We'll start with members of the press. Please come forward. Come forward. Members of the press first. If there are other members of the media, please can you queue up behind this gentleman? Come forward. Come right in front here. The microphone, please. Let's queue up.
Say your name.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Salisu Waziri. I report for Voice of Nigeria. I want to commend the Ministry of Labor and Productivity. It is very obvious that your ministry is doing a lot to create jobs for Nigerians. But I don't understand. I think I am meant to believe that the reason why we have many ministries is so that one will complement each other. But of recent, I don't know, the Ministry of Labor is creating jobs, and some oga at the top in the ministry, Federal Capital Territory, are taking away jobs from Nigerians for the issue of these Araba bus drivers that have been asked not to drive in Abuja. I don't know, is there anything the ministry is doing to either incorporate these people that have lost their job to something meaningful or something else? Thank you.
Thank you, Voice of Nigeria. Next, please.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Usman Umar Tongo. I also report for Voice of Nigeria. My name is Usman Umar Tongo. I report for Voice of Nigeria. My intervention is to the Minister of the Niger Delta. I think there was consensus among Nigerians that Niger Delta has suffered injustice, and this injustice needs to be addressed. Yeah, need to be addressed. And part of the interventions the Minister of Information mentioned includes the NDDC, Ministry of Niger Delta, and state governments. I think even the election of Mr. President and the amnesty program has been part of the concessions Nigeria made to develop Niger Delta. And for the Minister of Niger Delta to come here and say with international partners there will be no enough funds to develop Niger Delta, I think is not actually correct. But there is this paradox in the sense that while the youth in the Niger Delta are preventing people who are desirous of developing that area, the elders in that region are also making comments that are making Nigerians feel wary of some of the concessions they make to that area. So I don't know, as an elder and a top government official, what is your ministry doing to coordinate all these activities and also assuage the feelings of Nigeria that Niger Delta need the support and consensus of Nigerians? Thank you very much.
Victor Mba Abai, Honorable Minister of Niger Delta Affairs. I just want to know why there's no much presence of the ministry in the northern part of, in the Abia North Senatorial District in terms of projects. The Minister of Labor and Productivity, some years ago, when I left school, there used to be this notice board or avenue for those who are seeking for jobs to know where jobs exist. And I used to see that at the Ministry of Labor and Productivity in Southwest Ikoyi, close to Radio Nigeria, where you had an office. I don't know what your ministry is doing to bring back that avenue for job seekers to know where jobs exist. I just want to tell the Ministry of Information that it is good for him to have organized this very program, though Nigerians are very cynical. Because even this morning as I was coming out at Area 1, I saw people still talking about the president not doing anything, because the issue in Nigerian politics today is, Jonathan, not projects or programs. Thank you.
Next, please.
My name is John Bosco Abakuro. I write for Vanguard. The Honorable Minister of Labour and Productivity, you have told us the efforts you've made in resolving industrial disputes. But so we do know that for a very long time now, Academic Staff Union of Polytechnics and other affiliate unions in the polytechnics have been on strike. Students have been on strike. Students have been in their various homes for about 2 months now, and nothing has been done. Sir, what are you doing, or what is the office doing to resolve the crisis so that students will go back to school?
Good. Next.
The Honorable Minister for Works. Okay, thank you. My names are Olu Akinboyewa. I write for Nigerian Pilots. Excuse me. Honorable Minister for Labour and Productivity. For us who report labor, we have been part of it. We have seen the effort done in the last 2 years. Honestly, and only God can say thank you more. But be as it may, we want a synergy between your office and the MDAs. It appears nothing is happening at the MDA's level. I'm sorry, I don't want people to die or retire. Does it mean that people are not living? If people are living, yes, people should be coming in. And if you are doing your best in this angle to make sure that you create all these top-gap jobs, then your office has shown window to the world. The MDA should think of cooperating with your organization. That is to say, when there is vacancy, they should brief you accordingly. Has it been happening, sir? That is number one. Number two, we cannot say we want more, but we should be Oliver Twist. Because this CSS and the women empowerment, they are starting now and we like it. You know, there's a glut in employment for many years. Very dormant. People have not been doing anything in the last 2 years. That is to say, the ones you are doing now, others are coming, because as we continue to train these children, they are coming and they are coming. What do we do in 2014 to enhance the system? Thank you.
Please, we want you to go straight to the questions. No long lecture.
Okay. Good morning, sir. My name is Joy Jaisime. I report for Vision FM. My question is to the Minister of Labour.
Louder. Louder.
Please, sir, what are some of the desperate measures that your ministry is doing to ensure employment? Because the International Labour Organization predicted that by 2015 there will be global youth unemployment to the tune of 20 million youths, and Nigeria has a soaring unemployment rate. What can you do to prevent this? Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Good morning. My name is Ojinika Amadi. I represent Ben Television London. My questions are to the Minister of Labour. I'd like to know, sir, by what percentage the 198,534 jobs you have created has cut down the rate of unemployment in Nigeria? And then the second question is, does the NDE, which is under your ministry, have a national regulation? Thank you.
Honorable Minister, sir, my name is Helen Shokjok. I report for Voice of Nigeria. My question is to the Minister of Labour. I know you just returned from a tour of some areas. You said, I think the southern parts of the country to see what your P program is doing there. I want to know what you identified. I'm particularly interested if there were problems identified, in the implementation of this program at the grassroots. If there are problems, what are those problems identified? And what is the ministry planning? How, rather, is the ministry planning to address them? Thank you.
Okay, civil society group. Yes.
Yeah, my name is Pastor Jason Moore, National President, Youth Organization for Unity and Total Harmony of Society. Mr. Honorable Ministers here seated, ladies and gentlemen, I'm highly elated that we're having this second time out of ministerial platform. At the last time out, we thought that it was just a political flash in the pan. But Mr. President has proved me wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, a round of applause for Mr. President and the Honorable Minister of Information. Now, having said that, it's because it's one big hallmark this administration has set up for us to give us a family meeting where we can address issues and tell ourselves the truth. Now, I have two questions for the Honorable Minister of Niger Delta. Sir, Honorable Minister, you have told us a very interesting, glorious stories about what has been done, and you mentioned about 360 houses being built. Is it a local government or is it per community? I wondered to myself, how many people can 360 houses house? Now, two, Honorable Minister, sir, at our last family meeting in last year, I made case here that I mobilized 30 billion US dollars for the development of that region that inbuilt answered so many questions about youth employment, agriculture, soil treatment, water treatment, all the challenges of NMPC at no cost to government. We will show proof of funds up front to Mr. President before he gives his collateral, and the collateral is simply meant to guarantee security within the region. If he can guarantee security, he doesn't even need to set up any collateral. And you set up a national council and stakeholders meeting, invited all of us to Uyo, and I sent in a memo demanding a seat on that council, demanding your audience. You didn't give it, you didn't give a seat, you didn't give me audience. Meanwhile, you promised the audience in our last family meeting. Up to date, I'm still waiting to hear anything feasible from you in respect of that. And then we wonder to ourselves, what was the terms and conditions and criteria for choosing the members of your so-called council? Now, to the Minister of Labor, we are so elated by the efforts you're making in youth employment, especially your administration of the Shopee. You see, but where I'm concerned here is that in page 36 of your report, I can see another desperate effort by Mr. President in wholesome and holistic job creation, and he set up a presidential committee. Now we do not know how the criteria of setting up this committee, because we happen to be interested in that committee because of the details of and the scope of that committee. And I also want to ask, now the members of our armed forces, because we have our members of our organizations in the armed forces, and they tell me so very alarming things that will shock you in terms of staff welfare in the police force, in terms of staff welfare in the military. I've just finished a civil military relations seminar with them. Now, who is in charge of their labor relations if your ministry is not? And what is your relationship with that department of government that is in charge of the labor relations of the armed forces across the country? We want to know. And how do we get involved in this, your presidential committee? Because we are very much interested. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Okay, come. Let's try to be brief, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ministers. My name is Engineer Wosi Manuel, the convener, Civil Society Engagement Platform. Let me quickly, in 2 minutes, say we represent the conscience of the society. My friend has spoken, part of the platform. I must agree in toto that the transformation agenda of the president has seen extensive performance and implementation. We of the civil society organizations do know that there is need for further synergy between government and the people. The Information Ministry is doing excellently well, but I must have to say that the elites are being well fed with information. The ordinary people matter a lot in a democracy. The bulk of the votes that put politicians in office comes from the ordinary people. And that is where the civil society comes to play, because we go down to the grassroots and engage them one-on-one. I will call on the two ministers here today to avail themselves of the opportunity of the civil society engagement platform and repackage what they have done here, because there's so much English, so that it can get down to the ordinary Nigerians. So much has been done in the transformation agenda. If people are saying they don't know what is going on, they are not saying the government is not working. What they're saying is that some of the languages being used are higher than our understanding. So please, we will prefer that synergy be enlarged between government and the civil society so as to reach the ordinary people with this information we're having here at the level they will appreciate it. I say a big congratulations to Mr. President, and if you want me to score him on behalf of the civil society, I will, but it's not for today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, okay, just this last one. Okay. This last one.
Good afternoon, leaders and wonderful audience. Mazi Chidikuko, Niger, Africa. I want to say quickly, because of time, that I appreciate the constraint of the Minister of Niger Delta. It hasn't been easy for him because of the politics that is involved in his job down there. But I want to ask this question passionately. We want to appeal to the youth. I will personally appeal to the youth to calm down, not to fight the contractor or kidnap expatriates. How about the elite and politicians in that zone who deploy the youth to do their bidding for their own political and economic gains? What are we going to do to them in order to make sure that the youths are conducting their own affairs orderly? The youths need this job you created, 9,000 jobs you created. The elite should be called to order, one way or the other. Or do you want us from the civil society to name and shame them so that the youth can find some peace in Niger Delta? To the Minister of Labor and Productivity, I have found time to look at the way the CSS is working, even sending some people who are not in Abuja to go to the NDA offices to assess how they could be engaged. But it never worked. What more can we do to pass good information for them to benefit from? And secondly, finally too, I want to ask the Minister of Labor, in his effort to create jobs, how can we benchmark the quantum of job created in public domain in such a way that the quarterly report their committee is going to send will not be only for the consumption of people in government, but be in public domain for us to educate others down the line. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. We will now revert to the Honorable Ministers to give us answers to the issues raised here. And I would first invite the Honorable Minister of State, Niger Delta Affairs, in the person of Architect Darius D. Ishaku, to come and respond to the areas that affect him. So, Honorable Minister of State. the Minister of Niger Delta, Minister of Information, and the Minister of Labor and Productivity. Please permit me to stand on all existing protocol due to the time shortage. The question that was directed to me was from Bestman, who said, how much have you been able to do for the youth in terms of youth development, education, and agriculture? Well, in the Ministry of Niger Delta, we have been able to do a lot. If you look at this brochure, we have already trained over 700 youths and in different skills. And I will not bother much on that, but I want to tell you much that we're even already undertaking in terms of youth training in other areas. For example, in ICT. Recently, we got some Nigerians who are in Ireland. They are coming to train 500 number youths, and they are beginning next month in Uyo. And from there, they will move to Calabar, where they hope to have their base. They will be training these youths in assembling of small iPads, assembling of cell phones, these simple cell phones and little things that are all ICT based. They will assemble them there, and some of the parts will be manufactured in Nigeria. This will not only go to train the youth, but also create an opportunity for them to set up workshops, and we hope to follow it up with the first batch of the 500 youths. We are also training and hoping to train and establish some fishery outlets. We've seen a model in Israel, and we want to replicate it in the Niger Delta area where there is a lot of water availability. We are also hoping that with our commissioning of the 4 skills acquisition centers, we have 9 of them, but we are prioritizing. The first 4 will come on stream before the end of the year. There we will train different skills, and that goes to answer the question of Nosa. He can be trained in that place to acquire the knowledge and skills that will require him to easily get a job or create a job for himself and others in terms of employing others. So I hope that goes to answer him in terms of agric and education. There is another question. Somebody asks, who is in charge of the East-West Road? The East-West Road is under the Ministry of Niger Delta. It was transferred to the Ministry of Niger Delta in 2008 when the Ministry of Niger Delta was created. It was less than 10%. Now we have gone over 53% with the development. Earlier on, the minister explained to you that 36 out of the 41 number bridges is completed. 740 culverts out of over 1,000 culverts have been done. So we are fully responsible for the East-West Road, and it has been progressing very well. And we promise you, by the grace of God, 2014, December, that road will be commissioned. As somebody also asked on the East-West Road, Okoso Bridge, what level is it? Okoso Bridge, we have instructed the contractor 2 months ago that he should start launching the beams. They have already gotten all the piers out, and we've asked him to launch, as a matter of urgency, the beams across one of the bridges, because 2 bridges are being constructed, while we manage the existing collapsing bridge and then create a new one so that the traffic can flow on both sides. And that will ease in the go-slow that you normally find on that bridge. So if the first bridge is launched and completed, we hope in another month's time we should be done with that. The traffic will ease in on that aspect. I think on my side, that is what I will answer. I'll leave my minister to take on the other questions. Thank you. We thank the Honorable Minister of State for those answers. You know he's an architect, and as such, he's been able to tell you and give you definite dates that these things will be delivered. Let's put our hands once more, ladies and gentlemen, for the Honorable Minister of State. So may I quickly now invite the Honorable Minister, Niger Delta Affairs, Elder Godsday Peter Orubibe, CON, to please come forward and answer some of the areas that affects him. Honorable Minister, sir.
Once again, I would love to thank my colleagues in the audience, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen. Now, they asked about how much money is needed for the development of Niger Delta for this period. If you ask me, I will tell you I will need over a trillion naira for this period. But over the period, what we have gotten is a little above 200 million. That is what we have gotten for the period. And that is what we have been, 200 billion, a little over 200 billion. That's what we have been using for the past few years. Now, the Minister of State has already talked about the Coastal Bridge. The Coastal Bridge is one of the challenges that we had. But when we came in 2010, the idea was not to construct a second bridge. But when I visited the place and I discussed with the technical people, they told me that the present existing bridge was not going to stand the test of times. And so that is one of the areas where we had to review the contract. So 2 new bridges are coming up in that place. One of them will be put to use before the end of next month. They have started launching the beams in one of them, which will be put to use before the end of next month. Then the other one will also be true before the end of this year. That is that about the Coastal Bridge. Now, who are the members of the National Council? The National Council is a body that is made up of various MDAs, that is ministries and agencies. You also have the oil companies, you also have some institutions within the Niger Delta. And so if you have the booklets, you will see the format. We read it out when it was inaugurated, and it was inaugurated by Mr. President to you when we went. I also would love to make it clear that the Ministry of Niger Delta is not meant to do some of these small projects people are talking about. At inception, the Ministry of Niger Delta was empowered to do only mega projects and regional projects. We started with the coastal road, with the east-west road, with the skills centers. But of course, the budget of the Ministry of Niger Delta was not initially produced by us. So many projects found their way to that place, and those are some of the challenges that we are having. And I did say that we are sacrificing a lot of those projects for us to see that the east-west road is completed. And so my brother from Isoko is not neglected. It's not neglected, but it's just because of the key project we are doing, and we are not, we don't want to be distracted to some other things. Once the east-west road is completed, almost all the states in the Niger Delta will benefit from it. Minister of State also talked about the Do Skill Center. It's because of poor performance, non-performance. That is why we are not doing it.
Okpa community. Again, I want to say that you are not neglected, and I believe that even by the pronouncements of Mr. President and the Minister of Power, so many things are happening there. And there is also, I know that there is a directive that power must be stepped down for the immediate communities where power is generated from. Now, you also find out that there is no amount of money that will be enough for any place. We cannot get all the money that is required for the development of the Niger Delta. And the oil companies and other government partners that we talk about, they are also interest groups that are doing one thing or the other in the Niger Delta. They are also interested in the peace and the development of the Niger Delta. So they are coming on their own to support us. Some we appeal to, some come on their own to support, to add to whatever that is available for us for the development of the Niger Delta. So it's a combination. It's a collaborative arrangement where we work together to support one another. Abia is not neglected, and like I said, the skill centers we are building, there is one in each state. No state has two. Apart from the East-West Road, the other major programs we have are the skill centers that we are building, and there is one in each of the 9 states. These skill centers are meant to accommodate 500 youths at a time. And so when it comes up, Abia will also benefit from it. Now, the 360 houses, if you listen to me very well, the Minister of Niger Delta is not doing a housing program. What we said was that during the crisis period, some houses were destroyed, and we had instructions to rebuild those houses. That is what I'm talking about. So it's those destroyed houses that are being built, and it will be given to the people in the next few months. There is some money to complete them. Now, my brother, I want to thank you for appealing to our youths, particularly in the Niger Delta, to come to terms with reality. Now, on a daily basis, I have meetings in my office with youths, with leaders, and everybody. And I had reasons to tell people. Sometimes when you see some people come to talk to you, they are youths, they are doing one kind of funny thing or the other. And you ask them, what is your age? They will tell you they are 40. They will tell you they are 50. And I have reason to tell those that care to understand. Youth is an issue of mind. Our leader, King J.T. Smith, was 21 years old when he was governor of Rivers State. He was 21 years old. He governed the state. And today in Rivers State, the things he left behind are still there for people to see. It's an issue of the mind. If you want to be youth forever, you will remain a youth. You have to think first is to appreciate the God that created you. The second thing is to have a dream. The third thing is to pursue that dream. Have commitment and pursue that dream. With time, it will bear fruits. That's what I've always told them. Because people coming around at 40, at 50, they don't know what to do. They say they are youths. They are asking for one thing or the other. It is unacceptable. And we must condemn it together. And it should not be used as an excuse to disrupt the people that have gone to help us. Once again, I want to use this platform to appeal to our people. We can't be talking about development and we disrupted people that are coming to develop the Niger Delta. Thank you very much.
We thank the Honorable Minister of Niger Delta Affairs for the answers he has provided. We would now invite the Honorable Minister of Labor.
Ladies and gentlemen, I recorded a lot of questions, comments, and commendation. I want to take them seriatim, the way they came, and in the order. I recorded it. The first question came from John Mpa from Lagos. It was an electronic question from the internet. He said, what are you doing in checking casualization? Let me go back to the historic perspectives. On assumption as Minister of Labor and Productivity, I was confronted with a lot of serious issues. It might please you to know that the very first day I assumed office, there was a strike, ongoing strike. At the time I assumed office, there were a lot of agitations, concerns and anxieties over casualization of Nigerian workers, outsourcing and contract staffing, among other issues. So I took out the challenges. I promised Nigerians that in the course of effective takeover of the ministry, I will check the incidences of casualization, outsourcing and contract staffing. You will equally recall that recently, after the passage of time, the cry, concern, and anxiety has reduced. It's no longer in the public domain. It has been reduced to the barest minimum level. What I did in outsourcing and contract staffing was to constitute a technical working group to look at contract staffing, outsourcing in the oil industry. I had concurrent support from my colleague, the Minister of Petroleum Resources. I had the support of the organized oil sector workers of the international oil corporations operating in Nigeria. I had the support of the labor unions, particularly the ones operating in that sector, Pengasin and Nupeng. And at the end of the day, all parties agreed on the guidelines that will be adopted in stemming down the incidences of contract staffing and outsourcing. And the outcome